They got away with blue murder on the delivery dates. Didn't the Italians notice?
By page 15, we were on the second crate of champagne.
You always close on champagne.
Except in France. Never serve the customer stuff he can hold better than you.
Wilder teach you that? How was he? Friday night.
Didn't you see him before I drove him to the airport?
Mrs. Wilder see him off, too?
She's in Northumberland. Her mother's.
Thought she might have spared him a wave. Isn't she worried?
About what?
When did John last take a holiday?
I can't remember offhand.
Mr. Corbett.
Yes.
Mr. Cameron Grant is here.
Oh, yes, send him in. You don't mind, Don, do you? We're almost through.
No.
Morning, Jim. I won't be long with Henderson.
Don?
Uh-huh.
Hello, that's new. What's in it?
Hmm?
That.
Well, what's usually in a drinks cabinet?
Oh.
Help yourself. I'll have a pineapple.
Pineapple. That's about the only glass you haven't got. What do you have, Don?
Is there any lemon squash?
There's everything.
It's too early in the day for me to have everything. I'll just have the squash.
This £28, 17 and sixpence.
Hmm? Sorry, what file you want?
Yours.
Sorry, I'm lost.
Your personal expense file.
I didn't bring a copy out with me.
Well, it was only last week, you'll be able to remember.
Remember what?
What national calamity put up the cost of living in Amsterdam precisely during the 2 days you spent there?
I think you'll find that my receipts reflect the usual charges for staying at the Central Grand.
Well, then why stay there?
I always stay there.
Well, so you should when it's the firm's
Thank
time,
you.
but this was Saturday and Sunday, your own time.
This, David, was on my way to The Hague from Rome to attend last Monday's conferences.
Well, why go out of your way on your way?
What?
Well, you could have flown straight to The Hague. Instead, you flew to Amsterdam, which meant a hired car on Monday morning to The Hague. Another, what was it?
17 pounds odd.
Yes, that's right. You haven't itemized the journey between Amsterdam and The Hague, a purely personal matter, unless you went to meet someone of importance to me.
I went to Amsterdam because I like Amsterdam. For quiet weekends, I do not like The Hague, nor, David, do I like having my expenses vetted. Contractually, I have a permissible figure. And anything above it, John has never asked me to justify. And never would.
How soon do you expect him back?
He circulated a memo. It said 2 weeks. Didn't you get it?
Yes, but you know, John's memos, it's the ones he doesn't circulate that count. For instance, the one he should have sent me about the Americans.
I wasn't aware that he was obliged to send you any memos at all, except to transmit instructions.
As John Wilder has neglected to inform me, I expect you to, particularly during his absence. Because during that absence, I am not only in nominal charge, I am in actual. In short, I have the responsibility, and I intend to exercise it. Until John is in a fit condition to do so himself.
Fit? What?
Hmm?
You said until John was in a fit condition. What exactly are you implying?
John Wilder has never before taken a holiday in his adult life. That's why you couldn't remember his last one offhand. Were you the only person to see him off?
Yes, I was. You'll find that hired car itemized fully.
I found several others here. Oh, by the way, Jim, now that you've joined the board of directors, you'll be putting in expense claims, too. The practice here is to attach dockets.
Oh. Well, you'll find I'll always be out of practice. Anyone who queries my expenses puts my dignity into doubt, which I don't mind, but also my ingenuity, which I do.
On Tuesday, Donald, you put in an invoice from a car hire firm for collecting you and John Wilder from a Dr. Renkel in Harley Street. What does Dr. Renkel do?
Lives in Harley Street.
If I've got it right, he's a neuropharmacologist.
Yes, and a very good one, from all accounts. More commonly referred to, by the way, as a psychopharmacologist.
Have you heard of him?
Yes, indeed, he's very fashionable at the moment. The madder members of the House visit him every recess.
I suppose you politicians always do such things discreetly.
We politicians do most things discreetly. How do you industrialists do them?
Well, from what I can see here, we don't roll up to have our heads examined in our own cars. At least John Wilder doesn't. How unstable is he, Don? Exactly.
Neurology, David, if you've taken the trouble to look that up too, concerns the nervous system, not the psyche.
Neuropharmacology and psychopharmacology. Dr. Renkel's pursuits concern the action of drugs on the nervous system. What drugs did he prescribe for John? Amphetamine, lysergic acid, diethylamide?
That car not only picked up John, it picked up me too. Occurred to you that I might be the patient?
You're still able to do your work, John isn't. Another car collected you on Wednesday and took you from Harley Street to the Steiner Tower. Before we go on with this fascinating intelligence test, Donald, would you care to tell me what I'm about to say so that in future I might have a little more faith in your loyalty?
To whom?
John took you into his private confidence. Only something of considerable importance could have forced him to do that. Something Dr. Renkel said. I should say that it follows logically that you accompanied him to the Steiner Tower to sit in on conferences that he was not in a fit condition to carry through himself. It also follows that as the man in charge now, I intend to know what those conferences were about. Unlike Wilder, I might not be content to depute my authority to a sales manager.
You might also logically assume, David, that if John hasn't deputed his authority to you, he's still in a condition to retain it and exercise it as always.
What's his promise, Don? My chair one day? I can offer you the same article of furniture much sooner. The day I move into his.
I wouldn't help you to pick up one of his cigarette butts.
The account of the Steiner was for a private dining suite. The Steiner kid is for Americans. And John, who dislikes candy in his carrots, would never entertain there normally. There was lunch for 3 on the days already mentioned, very expensive ones. And dinner for 4 on the following day, when for once you didn't have to pick Wilder up from his neuro, etc. Who are these Americans, Don?
Highly cultured modern Romans. Credits to their race.
Finch them.
What?
In future, don't present your expenses to me. Get Finch to okay them, the accountant. I presume he knows your permissible figure. From what I can see there, you exceeded it for the year last month.
Are you up on the Italians now?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Morning.
You've forgotten my pineapple.
Oh, have I?
I take it your sympathies are with Henderson.
Oh, don't worry about that yet. My sympathies are the last things to influence me.
I didn't ask you here as a politician. I asked you here as junior member of my board. You are to be my fellow hound, Jim, and we are going to harry Wilder until he drops.
Drops where? The only forwarding address in his parting memo was Poste Restante, Naples.
Yes, it was pretty obvious he confided more precisely in Henderson, isn't it?
Also obvious that that confidence is going to be respected. Didn't you notice yourself seeing to that?
What I saw to was this, that Henderson has no expenses to operate on, contractually. So he'll complain to Wilder direct, wherever he is.
No, it's not in his code, David. He's been very well educated.
Don't all rot.
Oh, but he has. He'll simply wait for Wilder to notice that he's stranded without funds somewhere someday, and then you'll have to explain.
Only it won't be one day. It'll be immediately. I'm ordering him round most of Europe.
Oh, no, this is the sort of trivia Wilder can handle on his ear. For one thing, you're assuming that he worships Henderson as much as Henderson worships him. But Wilder only worships Wilder. Indeed, his worship of himself exceeds yours of yourself only in its frankness, which is why it's the more tolerable. No, no, no. This whole gambit would only have nuisance value.
Nuisance value might be enough at the moment. Very much enough. I want you to dig up anything that could irritate Wilder at all. Play some more golf with Henderson. And feed him those irritating things for instant delivery to the patient. I want Wilder's peace of mind, or what's left of his mind, disturbed as often as possible.
Mice who play while the cat's away should take care not to make so much noise that the cat will come home early.
Making a noise seems to be the only way of finding out where the damn cat is, or whether it's capable of coming home or not.
That's true. We don't know he's receiving treatment of any importance at all. Perhaps he's just being fashionable and youth-glanding.
Then find out. Also find out about the Americans. If I can show him I know about them, he'll come back even if he has to tear himself out of a straitjacket.
Your arms feel sore.
What?
You're pushing.
As junior board member wishing to get on, your function here is to be pushed. Either by me or him. Which do you prefer?
The happy worker, David, prefers the boss who seems able to push least.
Wrong. The one who offers most.
A point. However, the rewards have to be commensurate with the crimes requested.
Crimes?
Well, what else would you call murder?
I'd call the compulsory retirement of a worn-out man under proper medical attention a mercy.
Mercy of unusual quality.
You sit on my board, not Wilder's. Do I take it you wish to continue with that arrangement or not?
How comfortable can you make me?
Well, you might never have to put in dockets to your expense claims.
I thought I made it clear I never would.
I was prepared to tolerate your attitude, but your reluctance to find out what I want to know is causing me to reconsider.
Reluctance?
Well, that's the impression you give me.
I can't imagine why. What you want to know happens to be exactly what I want to know, too. Well, I'll see you at the funeral. Whose ever it is. Good evening, Mrs. Chalice.
Evening. This is the critical bit. See you later.
Yes, that was the arrangement. You intend we come back for this cold?
No, stay in for it hot.
I prefer pheasant cold.
I thought we were discussing us. I forgot to open the wine, would you?
You've got your nights mixed.
Tuesday. Aren't you James Cameron Grant?
My invitation was to an opera.
Ooh, what song?
Goethe Dämmerung.
I've seen it.
Yes, and I've seen this before, too, Laura. Whenever you let yourself in and cook for me, it's because you're personal assistant to Sir Gordon Revage at the bank, and he wants you to get some information out of me.
I also indulge personal impulses, you know, occasionally.
You'll spoil it if you add more.
Would I? Is that red wine? Then let me handle it. You chill it.
Would you like something?
No, thank you.
Well, let's deal with the agenda in order of priority, shall we? What's on Sir Gordon's mind?
You always give priority to what's on his mind over what's on mine?
I'm lazy, and it's always easier to see what's on his than yours.
You know perfectly well what's on mine. You are.
I apologize for becoming a burden. I assure you it hasn't been intentional.
Politicians need wives for electoral purposes. I remember you saying that to Mrs. Wilder.
No, she said it to me.
You agreed.
Only if they expect a ministry.
You expect one.
But not during this administration, and it's only just started, and it mayn't last long.
I'm not asking you to marry me now. I'm asking you where I'd stand if your political prospects increased to a degree that made domesticity desirable.
Very well. If ever I needed to marry again urgently, I would consider you second.
Who would be considered first?
Oh, myself. Public advantage would have to outweigh private cost. Wife is a responsibility. No responsibility should be undertaken before it becomes necessary, and so far it hasn't become necessary.
What will you do if I tell you that I consider the unmarried state not only irresponsible, but adolescent? That if you won't oblige me, I shall look for a more mature man.
Believe you, and bestow my regrets upon a less mature woman.
Always a stupid card for a woman to play, isn't it?
Well, that depends upon the timing. Timing? Hadn't you better look at your pheasant?
Pheasant can no longer fulfill its purpose.
That's possibly because you cooked it too soon. It's a very good-looking pheasant, and it shouldn't be blamed. What do you think of Wilder?
What?
Stock answer. Well, why don't you like him?
I didn't say I didn't.
Ah, you do then.
I didn't say that either.
Which applies?
Neither.
Well, would this be true? Like a good player, he can shock as much as he likes, provided he entertains.
For me, that's true of any man.
He shocks you then?
No, nobody does. Even you fail to.
Then where do you find him entertaining?
You know, perhaps because he's unusual.
In what way?
However big a rumpus he happens to be kicking up, whenever I see him, I feel relaxed and peaceful, in contact with a certainty.
Can you explain why?
I think it's because one always knows who he is and what he is. I wish I could say the same for you.
In other words, however dangerous his actions, he's unusually honest because he never acts out of character.
Yes. We must be unique in sharing that view of him, though.
We're merely identifying your view. Now, what about Corbett?
I didn't care about Corbett. He bores me.
Why? Doesn't it seem to you he's trying to act more like Wilder than Wilder lately?
Yes, but that's only because he has to survive.
Do you believe that?
Shouldn't I?
Well, what if he's not reluctantly enduring the struggle for survival, the battle for power in high and unaccustomed places? What if he is now what he always was, and he never showed himself to be until he got into his present position? What if he's one of those dangerous Puritan monsters cloaked in innocence who infest this country, and who are able to unload their guilt upon their victims while executing them?
I didn't come here to discuss Corbett. I came to discuss you and me.
But that's what we are discussing. Look, your job is to help Sir Gordon bounce Wilder and put Corbett in his place. Are you going to do it?
Aren't you?
Why are you going to do it?
Because I'm being paid to. Why else should I do it?
Well, I expected you to say because you know what you feel about Wilder, but you're not sure what you feel about Corbett, and Corbett might possibly be a better man for Wilder's job. And at least you'd have sounded like a woman and not like a neuter employee.
What are you trying to sound like?
A politician with an opportunity to make more out of the aircraft industry than socialism. If that's so, I should be leaving politics, and I shan't be needing a wife. I only wanted to make that clear.
Wilder has a wife. Even Corbett has. They're not in politics, they're in industry. Still, you are wasting your time thinking about it, so perhaps there's hope for me yet.
You don't know exactly how I'm thinking about it.
Yes, I do. You're in a position to help Corbett against Wilder, or Wilder against Corbett, depending on which man will offer you the managing director's chair of Ryan Airframes when he's got rid of the other. Don't let me go on if I'm off target.
Go on whether or not.
Well, Wilder never appoints anybody as number 2 who could one day become number 1.
He appointed Corbett.
And he has learnt from his mistake. And so has Corbett.
And so have I, Laura.
Which one are you going to back?
Oh, you know, I've never understood that attitude. Given 2 opportunities, why take advantage of only one?
You can do that. Again.
I'm not sure. 1 or 2 things keep confusing me. Usually they're the last, but this time they've intruded early.
What things?
My sympathies.
I hope the condition continues. I should like to feel unique in your history.
In what sense?
In the sense that in me you also have 2 opportunities. Either you can take advantage of me married, or unmarried. But however you look at it, you'll never be able to do both at once.
Can the pheasant wait a bit?
Yes? Can't you?
I'd rather not.
Good.
Right, Finch. something I thought I should see you about in person, Mr. Corbett.
So I've noticed.
It concerns Mr. Henderson's expenses. I regret to say that Mr. Henderson has exceeded them contractually.
Well, you know what to do there. I sent you a memo concerning exemptions. Was he on it?
No. He used to be on Mr. Wilder's, though.
And I brought Mr. Wilder's up to date. All you have to do is to apply the improvements.
Yes, well, of course. I had thought I understood. Well, it's this, Mr. Corbett. Mr. Henderson has asked my department to arrange flight tickets to Bonn and accommodation for 2 days.
Well, I should think that's because I've told him to go to Bonn.
Yes, of course. Frankly, Mr. Corbett, I didn't know whether to take him seriously.
How?
Well, I pointed out the embarrassment of his contractual figure, and he said not to worry, just reserve the tickets and accommodation in his name and leave him to deal with it. Well, I dislike voicing what might seem to be a suspicion where it is really merely a confusion. Well, am I to take it that he expects the firm to pay later, or is he going to meet his expenses out of his own pocket? They're bound to be quite considerable, you see.
From my own pocket. What else can I do? Well, why not ask Wilder? Because Corbett wants me to.
Well, you'll get it back anyway, I suppose, when Wilder notices on his return.
I don't know. He might decide that Corbett's got too big a case where the bank's concerned and leave me to wangle things on my own.
If that's the way you feel, why do you remain so loyal to him?
Well, Jim, in our combine, you're either loyal to him or to Corbett.
Well, either way, you seem to be a bit of a victim at the moment. Perhaps. When are you off?
I don't expect to be off. I expect Corbett to cancel his instructions. He only wanted me to refuse to go. No, I haven't. He'll forget that, Dodge. No, Jim. He wants me here, playing golf with you. Receiving friendly instructions that might worry our boss. If I was silly enough to pass them on.
Well, that's how you felt about it all along. You'd nothing to lose and nothing to put your own bills, had you?
Mrs. Wilder comes back tomorrow. When are you going to tackle her? Well, aren't you? I mean, if anybody knows about his physical condition, his wife should.
Well, I don't see the point. If she knew anything more than you do, Wilder would have wanted to say even less than you have. Oh. Do you insist I play this one?
Oh, yes, Jim. I insist on you playing every shot in this game.
Oh. It's not my day. No, it's mine. I beat Henderson this morning. At least according to the scorecard. You didn't have such a good morning, though.
No, probably because I'm a test pilot, not an accountant.
But these days, what's the difference? You do it all with figures, don't you?
Yes. You know, one enjoys the figures one can understand, but... You know, I can calculate anything to do with an aircraft's flight, but I'm damned if I can keep track of my expenses.
Why worry? It's not the details that count, but the total, if you want to be comfortable.
Apparently I have to worry. Finch's department tells me that Corbett has sent for my file.
Have you been fiddling?
Of course not. No, I got a perfectly adequate contractual allowance. I find it difficult to exceed it.
No, it's not the thought of any fault that Corbett might find that irritates me. It's the fact that he's looking for one. John Wilder would never.
Never what?
Oh, just never, old boy.
Why not complain to him?
Or interrupt his holiday. Well, that would be taking Corbett seriously. Getting down into the mud with him, if you know what I mean.
Well, even so. If Corbett's going to query something in your contract which was drawn up by John, why not tell him to get in touch with John personally? He could telephone.
No, he couldn't. He doesn't know where he is beyond a collection address. He asked me if I knew any better a couple of days ago.
And did you?
Yes, I do know where he is. But I imagine if John Wilder wanted anybody else to know, he'd have told them himself.
And you're surprised that Corbett is now grubbing through your expenses?
I'm not. I'll tell you why. I've had differences with Wilder before now. First thing I've known about them, he's been standing in front of me swinging an axe for the whole world to see. Not so with Master Corbett. I've had differences with him, too. First I've known about them has been a blow between the shoulder blades from behind. You know, one man enjoys fighting and winning. The other simply enjoys winning.
Robber barons are gentlemen, but usurping serfs are not.
No, one man knows how to behave. The other simply doesn't want to learn.
Yes, but some men never get the chance to go to the right schools. Some men feel underprivileged, and that, I'm told, enormously increases their appetite as well as their cunning.
Good God. Don't you know what kind of an education Wilder had?
Have I assumed wrongly?
He'd never forgive me if I told you.
You rather have, haven't you? However, why should he be ashamed of it? Belated snobbery?
No, a disinclination to make excuses for himself. Has it ever occurred to you that Corbett's actually glad that he went to Red Brick instead of to Oxford? He expects to be forgiven his crudities, tolerated for not knowing any better, and he claims advantage from supposed handicaps that Wilder would never even mention. One man always runs from scratch, Jim. And the other claims that the world owes him a start.
Well, how disappointing. I thought you were reassuring me that chaps like us are bred to the top, but here you are saying that urchins like Wilder can climb up and pass themselves off as to the man of born. It's very disturbing.
What's the matter with you?
Why does everyone ask me that all of a sudden? Oh, all right, I'll tell you. If Corbett suddenly sprouted a halo, I wouldn't mind, because I've always detested and disapproved of ascetics and saints. But now Wilder is suddenly sprouting a whole hoopla of the things, and it shatters my faith in sinners. That is human nature. Oh, come on, let's go and think of you. Let's wake the barmaid, if she doesn't want to be.
Thank you. Mr. Cameron Grant?
Mr. Wrinkle?
How do you do? Come along. Do sit. Thank you. I'm delighted to see you looking so well.
How can you say that?
Huh?
You've never seen me before. Don't you people usually proceed on comparative appearances?
Oh, but I have seen you very often on television and the hustings. I even voted for you once.
Oh, are you in my constituency?
I used to be, and since I've followed your career with the deepest interest. What's all this about your joining the managerial class?
Hmm?
Well, didn't you join the board of Scott Furlong recently?
Ryan Airframes, actually.
That's the same thing, isn't it?
I don't really know yet. I'm still a new boy.
Tread gently, avoid toes, wait until you're in a position to kick before letting go, and I'm sure there'll never be anything I can do for you. However, come into my contraption room. Let's have a look at your wiring.
Oh, hang on a bit. I'm not sure I want
Oh,
to...
but I can assure you there's no need to worry, Mr. Grant. I'm quite used to looking after people who can't afford to take a day off. That is, if other people know why.
But I'd still like to know the form.
Well, first, it's not my business to commit you. If you happen to be nuts, and if I think you might be, I will refer you to someone else, and it will be your concern whether you go to him or not.
And what if my nerves are shot?
I think that's even less likely.
Even so, I feel edgy.
I repeat, you don't look it.
No, it's part of my professional training, not to look how I feel.
Well, assuming you need treatment, I will tell you what it is, and even more important, how long it will take.
You will say, as all you fellows say, impossible. I will say we can do it by installments. We'll probably come down to a month to put you on your feet for a start.
A month?
Well, you tell your political and industrial friends that you are off for a holiday. A fortnight. At the end of it, you'd cable, you'd met a woman, found yourself writing your memoirs, whatever, and stay another fortnight.
If anyone had seen me going to a special ward in a private hospital, I might as well retire and stay forever.
They wouldn't. You'd fly to Naples and establish a collection address at the post office. Oh, please, do sit. Now, if anyone followed that up, they'd find you were renting a seaside villa in a newly developed estate, served by a cook, a gardener, and a man about the house. The gardener is one of my trainees, and the man about the house is a male nurse. But only you and I would know that.
Would I be housebound?
You'd be free to take whatever physical exercise your body could handle. In your case, I wouldn't be surprised. That turned out to include water skiing and spearfishing.
What symptoms need I exhibit to qualify?
Oh, none, if you have the money. When a sound man insists on becoming a hypochondriac, I first of all recommend regular holidays. Now, that doesn't satisfy his appetite. Anticritical neuropharmacological treatment. The only difference is in the fee.
Are any of your patients actually ill?
They're those who, unlike yourself, failed to see me before they needed to.
If I went, how many villas do you have?
6 scattered about the slopes of Vesuvius.
I'm already living on a volcano.
I don't think it'll be hard to fit you in. Say within a month.
Well, what about the villa John's got? Could I have that? John Wilder.
Oh, he sent you to me. Well, why didn't you say so?
Oh, well, I'm not sure he did, actually. I just heard he'd been to see you, you know?
Well, don't you think I'd better examine you before you jump?
I don't know, Mr. Wrinkle. I feel so much better now. Good morning.
Yes, Doctor?
Is Miss Harper there?
Oh, she's taken an early lunch.
Will you see if you can find me Mr. Wilder's progress file, please?
Which sort of villa is he in? Treatment or rest?
The Blue Villa.
Did he tell you what villa he was in?
No, but that's about all he didn't.
Well, I shan't oblige you.
Of course you shan't. But you could get in touch with John on my behalf, and I'm sure you'll agree that you should.
What shall I tell him? That you're doing a great job for Corbett?
That I will, if he doesn't do a little one for me. I want his personal words, Don, witnessed by you, that in the event of Corbett moving out of his chair at Ryan Airframes, I can move in.
I'll give you his answer tonight.
Well, hardly need to. Just put the question.
Expense file? A week's claims. 2 months ago, when he went to Ottawa to demonstrate the VTOL. I find his air ticket to Canada, the usual hotel bills. Then there's a gap until we come to his air ticket home, which is from New York.
Yes, that's true. He didn't submit a claim for the time he spent in New York. Oh, he's most meticulous, I'm glad to say. I assume he stayed with friends.
I see his air ticket was originally a return.
Yes, Mr. Wilder told me to get it changed after Mr. Forbes had left.
Did Mr. Wilder also tell you to arrange for his travel between Ottawa and New York?
For Mr. Forbes, no.
Well, then how did he get to New York? Walk? There's no travel ticket.
Well, I expect he bought one himself and forgot to put in for it. It's not my habit to urge our people to ask for more than they expect to get. Shall I speak to him about it?
No, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corbett.
Well, I seem to be making some progress. When are you going to?
I have. I can tell you you won't get anything out of Forbes.
You thought of going to see Dr. Wrinkle yourself as a patient?
Oh, yes, frequently.
Do you know the characteristics shown by men who are subjected to simulated changes of altitude in pressure chambers?
They become stupid?
Well, specifically, they act like people who've had too much to drink. Forbes should be taking his routine medical today. Shall we go and see him with his hair down? How high is he?
22,000 feet.
How's he responding?
Normal.
Well, he doesn't seem to be.
Neither would you without oxygen.
Forbes?
Hmm?
You remember the Canadian trip?
Did it?
Yes, well, John Wilder's worried. He's wondering whether he should come back.
What's she worried about?
When
that?
you went down to, it's David Corbett, when you went down to New York, remember? He's worried. He wonders whether he should come back. Your hosts, they're kicking up.
Can't see why.
They're threatening to go elsewhere.
Oh, that's a lot of rot. GAA cannot get the component saline anywhere else. John been ringing you? You tell him not to worry. I told him no technical worry. You tell him the same.
Thank you very much, Forbes. GAA, Greater American Airlines.
Mr. Corbett,
Yes?
Mr. Grant is here.
Yes, I want him.
The chairman of GAA is L.B. Thomason Kuhlenheimer.
Is it?
No.
I don't want the chairman. I want the European manager.
Will you ring, write, or send flowers?
GAA is a civil airline. Forbes went to Canada to demonstrate a military aircraft. Then he detoured to New York at GAA's expense, and with Wilder's knowledge, agree?
Yes?
The only components in a vertical takeoff fighter that could possibly interest a civil aircraft company would be what?
Well, since the VTOL goes straight up and down,
Pressurization. And if they want to manufacture our components under license in the States, a company of that size, with others possibly following.
John's best move.
No, Jim. Ours.
Well, yours.
I need to know one thing first.
Yeah. And then you'll get in touch with GAA, and you'll tell them Wilder's ill, and you've taken over, and then you'll close the deal. And then you'll trot up to Sir Gordon, salute, report, and forget to mention John Wilder ever had anything to do with it, won't you? And then, Davy lad, you'll be on your way, and Wilder will explode from blood pressure, and I'll be what?
Remembered by me, Jim. Just remembered. Because if you're not willing to tell me how sick Wilder is, I am capable of finding out for myself.
I can tell you his condition justifies ground for ample concern. He's undergoing 2 weeks' treatment, after which, unless interrupted by you, he will receive another 2 weeks' treatment. More might follow.
Where did you get this from?
As I told you, from Wrinkle.
I don't remember you telling me.
Possibly because I couldn't force myself above a whisper. Well, I suggest you ring GAA now. I suggest you show them around in person, the man in possession. And I suggest...
I know what to do. The question is, do I let Wilder know I'm doing it?
Come in.
Coming up?
I suppose.
What did John say?
I didn't tell John. Obviously, I'm expected to, but I'm not going to unless I absolutely have to.
Ill as that, is he? Ooh, that's a bad sign.
What?
The way you're sitting, forearms reclining, hands clenched. Yes, I read it in Renkel's book somewhere. It can be a symptom of suppression.
If I'm suppressing any impulse to do something more violent with my hands, you can count yourself lucky for one, Grant.
I don't want to hustle you, Mr. Corbett, but who is this Mr. Forbes, and do we have to wait for him? I've got this appointment to fly to Zurich at noon. Otherwise, I'd be very glad to meet everybody here.
How are you flying? GAA?
Yes, on the house.
Miss Evans, when Mr. Forbes does arrive, send him to flight test immediately and tell him to wait there.
No, Mr. Kendra, it's quite unusual. It's an idea of Wilder's. All test pilots have to take their regular medicals at Farnborough, but Mr. Wilder requires ours to take a regular 3-monthly check here in addition. You see, as only 3 pilots are allowed to test out the VTOL, he needs to know their availability at all times.
Yes, well, that's been general practice at GAA for some time. Only we don't have the chamber. We use the local equivalent of your Farnborough.
I had hoped to give you a demonstration using our chief test pilot, but, anyway, it's all done in here. Even the simplest tests, like pulse and blood pressure.
That's what all the leads are for?
Yes, the pilot can walk or sit according to instructions and...
Does he put them on himself, or does the doctor go in with him?
Well...
Why don't you go in and show him, David?
What?
This is the first real sign of interest Mr. Kinder has shown.
Would you?
Actually, I'm proud of it. It only takes a jiffy compared to the Farnborough method. Come on, let me get you rigged up.
How high is he now?
High as a kite.
Mr. Corbett, have you finished the puzzle?
The damn pieces aren't made to fit.
You're quite sure about that?
David? Huh?
David?
No, he's not playing. Well, what now?
Oh, we'd better let him down now. The statistics are fed into that machine to be calculated against data taken at any time before the man enters the chamber. The records take about 10 minutes. That's about all I can show you, I'm afraid.
Well, thank you very much.
Miss Evans,
Yes, Mr. Corbett?
you any aspirin?
I'm sorry.
Or down the canteen?
Yes, Mr. Corbett. Oh, just a moment. Mr. Grant is here.
Send him in.
I'm terribly sorry,
So
David.
you damn well should be.
How do you know?
What?
What I'm sorry about?
I just got hold of Forbes. He so told me you rang earlier and said not to bother about the demonstration. What the hell do you think you're playing at?
Oh, but that's not what I'm sorry about, David. I'm sorry about you. You're very ill. You see, after you left the chamber, I thought I'd have a go. Well, I got a clean pass. It's all in a manila folder like this. But when I was leaving, I didn't pick up my file. I picked up yours. No, don't get up. Relax. It's important. It says in here, hypertension, a great many things. You need a neuropharmacologist. I thought so when I first saw you doing that.
What?
That. Shall I show you the other symptoms you have?
I am perfectly well, except for a damn headache.
Well, would you like to make sure before Wilder does? That's it. Sit back and relax. But don't clench your hands like that. I can see the knuckles turning white. Wilder would spot that in one.
Let me have a look at that.
Oh, no. Not on your life, David. I'll only exchange this for one article of furniture at the right time, and that's the article of furniture you're sitting on.
Well, the right time would be when you'd got rid of Wilder.
No, when you had, or he'd got rid of you. Without either of you using a weapon like this.
Don't understand you, Grant.
I know. I wish I could say you had my sympathies, but there it is. Well, now, what should we do with this little document? Destroy or show?
Well, destroy, of course.
Thank you. It'll make a change.
Hmm?
For someone other than you or Wilder to destroy something round here.